TikTok's worst book reviewers are infuriating by Rachel Oates. The only problem is every TikTok reviewer that infuriates her ends up being female. So this is a gendered issue. This is bad female behavior. And Rachel here won't want to deal with that. Matter of fact, she'll be stuck between a rock and a hard place. Because on one hand, she wants to critique this behavior that she hates, but on the other hand, she wants to enable it because the people who are displaying this bad behavior are women. And also, at the very end of it, she tries to blame us guys over. So that's why I'm responding to this. Now, let's get into this. And by the way, this woman here, she's straight out of a Saturday Night Live skit. You know, if I saw this by itself, I would think that it was a comedy skit. Sorry about that. Here, bring that back up.
Why the is this book? First of all, the writing is so tiny. Second of all, why are the pages so filled with so many words? Like, what the
Is this woman trolling me? Is she for real?
Why the everything I read is a flashback. I don't give a about your previous life. I really don't. I just want you to get your I scored and I just want to read action, action, action.
Did you hear that, guys? I just want to read action, action, action. Now, how many decades have we been bashed for that? You guys who watch your action flicks, right? You're just interested in action. Well, here you go. It's being straight from the horse's mouth. They're bashing us for what they desire. It's the same old hypocrisy and double standards.
I don't care what you did as a child.
I just feel like you guys at this point are like, why did I follow her? Like, literally, what actual reading does she do? Like, she's not a trustworthy source at all, and you would be correct. Does anyone else skim read their books? And by skim read, I mean only read dialogue. Like, you don't read description.
Notice this woman is saying it, guys, with a big smile on her face. You know why? And Rachel, if you're listening to this, you know why? Because women don't live on easy mode. Young, good-looking women in today's age, they're living on cheap mode. They will always be accepted for what they do and say. And that's why she has a big smile on her face. There's nothing she knows she can say that'll get her real blowback.
Personally, I don't care what someone looks like. I don't care where they are. I don't care what they're doing. I care about the conversation.
I like pages that aren't filled with this many words. Like, literally every page is like look at this. Are you kidding me? I'm either gonna become an alcoholic.
This is another thing, guys. The woman who drinks an alcoholic drink in her videos is a red flag. It's cringy as hell. It's right up there with guys who smoke cigars, right? It's a show of status, whether they have it or not.
By the time this book is done, or I'm gonna DNF it. Because without this, I cannot finish. If you don't know what I'm talking about, Six of Crows.
So what ended up happening is I'm sitting here reading this new book, and I turn the page, and there's a paragraph on the page this long. It goes from the top of my Kindle to the bottom of my Kindle. It's that long. And I skipped it, okay?
Again, it's a great big smile. You know why? Because these women do not have to succeed at anything to get by. And it's not just that they're getting by. They're the life of the party. They're the center of the party. They'll always be accepted wherever they go, and people will want them there. Right? So they can never lose.
I skipped it.
Okay. You got me there.
Hey everyone, and welcome back to a new video. So, very recently I stumbled across this fun Instagram account called Battery.
Oh, by the way, side issue, guys. Notice the doll figurine she's got in the background. She's a grown-ass woman. This woman's probably 30 now. I have nothing against her having dolls. So you guys, if you own any figurines or anything like that, do it with pride. If someone gives you a hard time, tell them to screw off.
Goodreads reviews, which basically posts funny reviews of books from Goodreads. I love it. It's a good giggle. But whilst on there are also a couple of posts that just had me a little bit confused and had me feeling a few things, and it led me down this.
It's confusing to you because you don't want to admit what women are like, your gender.
Weird rabbit hole of watching stuff kind of on TikTok. Like, I don't have the app anymore because I don't understand it. But I searched a few things up online and found these videos, and like, there's a very weird trend on there amongst like BookTokers, right? Where these people are book reviewers. They make their whole content around reviewing books and recommending books, but then they go and brag and boast about the fact that they don't actually read books.
Of course not. Because it's about status. It's a status trophy. Saying you read books and you're a book reviewer is about status. These women care about status, right? Because reading books is supposed to be intellectual. It's something that the higher ups do, right? That's what it's about.
Like, they skip whole paragraphs. They skim read anything that isn't dialogue. They just like, they'll be like, I'll read the first and last sentence in a paragraph if it's too long. It's weird, right?
No, it's perfectly normal. They're shallow, they're empty, they don't want to know anything outside themselves. And it's a very common staple of the average woman's thinking. So there's nothing weird about this, Rachel.
Like, this isn't just me. Like, it's odd, right? So, one of the things I've always criticised writers like Colleen Hoover or the Zodiac Twins for is their poor writing. By which I mean, like, it's just objectively poor. It's bad writing. Like, it doesn't matter whether you enjoy it or not. Like, objectively, the writing from a technical perspective isn't good.
Yeah, it's very popular with women, isn't it?
But I've always said that, well, you know, at least they're easy to read. At least you kind of zoom through the books. Like, I can review a Colleen Hoover book having read the book in like a day because it's just that quick to get through. There's just like not very much to it. There's also in these books this kind of reliance on making everything just so vague. Like, the characters are all just these empty shells that you can like insert yourself into whichever one you pick and whichever.
Yeah, exactly. The characters are empty shells that you can insert yourself into. That's right, because these women are solipsistic. They are the center of their universes. Everyone else is just an actor on the stage. They want it to be about themselves. They have no desire to get to know other people. They don't have any empathy for other people. That's what you're seeing here.
Everyone you fancy, because like their traits usually come down to, well, this one is tall and hot. This one is hot and a bit rebellious. This one is hot and clumsy. This one is hot with a dead parent.
Yeah, what you're seeing is mate selection. This is real life, by the way. The average gal, when she has a boyfriend, she's just interested in what he looks like and what he does for a living. Is he high status? She often doesn't know anything about the man himself. She's not interested. So, of course, their fantasies, the reading material is going to reflect that.
And that's about all there is for character development. The audience relates to these characters because they are such blank slates that they can project anything they want onto them. These are the kinds of authors and the writing style that a lot of BookTokers end up recommending. And these authors, they never describe settings or places or backstories with anything more than a vague, "This was a big house. Oh my god," she said, "it's so huge."
Yeah, that's right. Everything else is superfluous.
Or, "Her parents died, there was a fire. Some days she felt sad." Instead, they rely heavily on dialogue-driven narratives just because it's easier to write. "I'm mad at you," she yelled at him. "No, I'm mad at you," he shouted as he slammed through the door, than it actually is to bother writing.
Well, it's not really being easier, though, is it? It's actually what they want. What are you saying? You're talking about an argument. So these women are interested in drama, arguments, strife. They get off on that. They do it in real life. Like if these women have a boyfriend that they're constantly arguing with, he'd probably last longer than the guy who just folds up. They're high conflict people. So of course, again, what the material they're interested in reflects that.
A nuanced, well thought out argument between two characters in which you examine their motivations and complex feelings and describe everything from the quiver of one's lip.
But they don't want to know anything about these guys. They don't want to know their motivations. Knowing their motivations would say this person is separate from me. He's just as important as I am. I could consider what he feels, his feelings. These are solipsistic people. The man in their life is strictly to serve. They're not interested in his inner workings. They definitely don't see him as an equal. So of course, they're not going to be any interested in writing that reflects men as fully fleshed out human beings.
Lips to the way the other's hands shook as he remembered the way his own dad used to slam doors and worried he was turning into him, and so on and so on. It's easier to write those two lines of he said, she said, than actually put effort in.
Again, this isn't really about laziness, though. That's just the way it is. It's what they like. This is what they want to consume. You know, if you ever seen like someone, you give them a hamburger and they throw off the bun with the tomatoes and the pickles and they just eat the meat. That's what it is. The meat's what's important. They don't value the lettuce and tomatoes and the pickles. Right? Now, in a couple of okay. Here we go. Through 150. Rachel can't come to terms with women's turn-ons, right? So she doesn't want to admit that these women are just into this kind of thing. Okay, that's it. 31. Here we go.
Academy, it is like I don't have a life that doesn't involve me reading Zodiac Academy for at least 3 hours a day. I don't care if I'm not gonna get any sleep that night. I don't care if I don't have time. I literally.
She doesn't because she can afford to. She doesn't have to work for a living. If work gets in the way, she'll just find a lay down boyfriend to work for her.
Really don't care. Zodiac Academy has become a part of my life like no other.
And if you aren't aware of why I dislike this series so much, when I was reviewing them, I was like her, I did think a lot about the books, but only because I couldn't stop thinking about how messed up it is to call rape, bullying, abuse, and literally peeing on people without their consent romance.
There. Thank you for admitting it. So this is their turn-ons. They're into fetishes, right? These women are turned on by that. I have no problem with that, Rachel. Do you? You do. I don't, because I think they're just being honest to what that really motivates them. So you want to say that this is bad, but you're also going to have an issue with saying it's bad because women are doing it, right?
I literally had to stop reviewing that book series after 3 books because it was messing with my mental health so much. Like, seeing literal rape and abuse be called romance and be told it was sexy and exciting. Like, no, that was...
Yes, it is exciting and sexy to them. There's nothing you can do to alter that. And by the way, guys, this is important because when women attack us, what do they want to do? Call us rapist. Yet, that's exactly what really turns them on. Matter of fact, Rachel, here, let me show you something. I said, do women love true detective? Women are more drawn to true crime stories than men, more than men. And look at the true crime detective covers. Women being threatened by men, being kidnapped by men, being attacked by men. You know, everything, being drugged by men. That's their turn-ons. So it's a waste of time you trying to deny that. At least it's a waste of time trying to deny it to me. Because I accept the reality. You might not like it, but these women are going to consume it anyway. What are you going to do about it? All right. Now we'll see 4356. Yep, this just shows you again the emptiness of these cows. Let's get into this. We are right here, this gal here.
A month, like, they're the bleach. And we maybe shouldn't be drinking them to this extent because it will kill us.
Yeah, I actually don't know if you're allowed to admit this on BookTok. I've been keeping this inside me for a long time because two reasons. Number one, I was really concerned that everyone would be really judgy and say that I'm not a real reader. Also, like, I just feel like you guys at this point are like, why do I follow her? Like, literally, what actual reading does she do? Like, she's not a trustworthy source at all, and you would be correct.
See what she's saying tons in a simple paragraph herself. You know, I'm not a good source to find opinions for books, and that'd be correct. She's admitting it. And she also said, I don't want to look bad, right? She's not concerned with actually being a true blue book lover. She's concerned that people won't see her as such. So everything is a mask for this woman. Everything's a coat of makeup.
Does anyone else skim read their books? And by skim read, I mean only read dialogue. Like, you don't read description. Because personally, I don't care what someone looks like. I don't care where they are. I don't care what they're doing. I care about the conversation. I thought this was just the way people read until me and my boyfriend were reading like the same books.
Again, she doesn't care of any substance, right? She only cares about the interaction between two people. And also, she thought this is the way everyone reads, because that's the way she reads, which means she's not concerned with any other person in the universe except herself. She's solipsistic, right? And notice she has a boyfriend. Like all you guys who say choose better, guys don't choose shit when it comes to partners. The woman either says yes or they do without, right? And guys project their mindset on the women. They have to in order to be with them.
And he can remember like extremely niche specific details about what that person was wearing, where they were at the time, the name of the place they were at. And I was like, listen, I don't read that stuff. And he was like, are you insane? Like, what do you get out of reading?
Yeah, are you insane? Why would you ask that question, dude? You didn't know the person you got together with as a girlfriend? Right. No, you projected your mindset onto her. Jeez.
And I was like, no, but I just like to feel like I'm getting somewhere. Like, if I'm reading description and I feel like I'm reading a book for too long, I get really frustrated. So I just prefer reading dialogue. Please be nice.
I guess in my
Okay, there's that. Now we'll get to the most important part as far as I'm concerned. Now, ladies are pushing these fetishes into novels. She wants to critique it, but she doesn't want to critique it because she wants to enable their bad behavior. And they're going to try and blame us guys, as usual, where we are. Where is it here? 4750. Here we go. Get up here. Yeah, right about here.
too. I don't even know if I'm expressing myself right at this point. I'm just full of emotions, of all the feels. And yeah, like, oh, actually, no. Another whole issue that I haven't even touched on yet is most of the people pushing these absolute crap books and saying this stuff are women. Usually.
Thank you for admitting that. So maybe you shouldn't have used a gender-neutral term, Rachel. This is a female problem. This is a gendered issue.
White cis straight women who are pushing books by white cis straight authors. And that.
Thank you for admitting that. So all this talk about diversity, everyone, all you guys, the talk about diversity is to take away from men. But we all know that white women are on the top.
That's not a bad thing, but it is something worth pointing out.
What do you mean it's not a bad thing? You gals consider it a bad thing when there's a bunch of white guys in charge of anything. So it's not a bad thing. So she's complaining about it, but then she's trying to renege and say it's not a bad thing. What?
Out and talking about. And I absolutely do not want to fall into this trap of criticizing something a woman does and people thinking that I must be misogynistic because
There you go. You using that term misogynistic is misandry, Rachel. It's not the hatred of women by you critiquing their behavior. It's just being honest. It also projects it back on us guys like we have anything to do with it. No, you want to critique your gender, that's up to you. If you see it as misogynistic, what you're saying is you see yourself as not knowing your place. I've said this before, guys. Misogyny doesn't mean the hatred of women. It means the person speaking doesn't know their place. They're not enabling bad behavior. So what you're admitting to, Oates, is that if a woman does anything bad, you've got to support it. You've got to enable her bad behavior. So you're for a worse society. Female criminals, no such thing. They're just women being women.
I don't want to make it seem like, ooh, all things women do are bad. All things women do are dumb. Ha ha ha, women only
Really? Well, you showed nothing but female TikTokers. So it's a little late for that.
like dumb things because that is not the case at all. And I also want to make clear that this is not every single creator on BookTok, because just from searching around yesterday and stuff like that, I found a bunch of amazing creators on there as well. And there were all
This is backpedaling and useless. You're either going to critique these women or you're not. Make up your mind.
kinds of people with all kinds of backgrounds and identities and, you know, people of all genders and races and ages.
Oh, here's the other thing. You're also insulting straight white women because these true crime novels or magazines were read by lesbians and they're read by women of all colors and cultures. This is a universal female turn on. So you are the racist if you try to make this about white cis women.
And sexualities and everything, like, and it was good. There was good stuff out there, and there was a diverse range of authors being promoted, but you had to dig for it because on the surface there were just a bunch of these straight white women pushing straight white smut written by straight white women.
Really? So this kind of stuff that women turned on, it's straight and it's white? Really? How is it white? I'm curious, Rachel. I mean, come on. What happens when you find an Asian woman reading this stuff and getting turned on? Hmm?
Mostly romanticizing abuse, and that was just the top layer of everything. That was
Well, it wasn't more. She's trying to make it like it's a tip of the iceberg, right? 90% of the iceberg is underneath. No, no. You had to dig for it because that surface was 90%. That's why you had to dig for it. The vast majority of women are into that, of all races and orientation. So admit it.
was drowning out any other voice. And I think it's not just that you have these diverse voices being drowned out, but
These other voices aren't being drowned out. What these women are pushing is popular. It's what's desired. If you have an issue with that, you have an issue with your own gender.
I think the other problem that arises is that a lot of these books that are being promoted, and again, sorry to keep using these two examples, they're just at the forefront of my head. When you look at writing by Colleen Hoover, and you look at the Zodiac Academy books and stuff like that, it's not just that they lack diversity, it's that they are inherently harmful. Not only do they romanticize abuse and portray abuse as being sexy and fun and romantic and me,
They're not showing it as sexy. The women consuming it see it as sexy. And these people who write these books are giving in to that demand. Don't try to put women's desires outside them and blame something else. This is what you girls are turned on by.
but they also fall into traps of repeatedly using homophobic stereotypes.
Really? So white women use homophobic stereotypes. Thank you for admitting this again. I often said homophobia is misandry. The gay man is hated by the straight woman far more, or even the lesbian, far more than any straight man ever will.
Racist stereotypes. They use ableist language quite a lot, and it's just, they absolutely.
So everything you accuse men of, you're to blame. You're guilty of. Okay.
Glamorize toxic masculinity.
Shut up. I told you guys. I told you. She was going to blame us. That phrase should be nowhere near this conversation. These sexual fantasies come from women. They're not foisted on them. It's generated from them. This is your turn-ons. Where is it here? These are your turn-ons. Yours. Masculinity has nothing to do with it.
And I just think there is a problem with that as well. There really, really is. So I think we have to be careful when we talk about this, because while some people see me criticize stuff like this and they see me criticize books like the Zodiac Academy books and they just think like, well, it's predominantly enjoyed by women, so you criticizing it must be misogynistic. I'm like, no.
There you go. Exactly. You don't know your own place. These women are saying exactly what you're saying. If women do it, it's good. It should be enabled. Women are into like baby murder, then baby murder is good.
No. Actually, I'm standing up against the misogynistic crap in these books.
It's not misogynistic. It's not. This is what women want. Again, you're trying to project women's bad behavior on the men. You're pathetic, Oates. Because here you are, on one hand, you're critiquing these women and saying their behavior is bad. On the other hand, trying to say that you're not. But I'm telling you right now, you're not blaming me for anything. You're not blaming my gender. This is not misogynistic. Fuck you. These people should be told. And guys, this is why I make videos like this. You got to look at people, the women, and say they are members of the opposing team, because that's how they see us. They see us as members of the opposing team. Women are part of her team, and therefore she wants to critique them, but can't critique them. And anything they do bad, that's the blame, that's put onto us guys, right? So this is how we have to start viewing them, because that's what they are. That's what they are. And thank you for showing more proof of what I've been espousing, Oates. Thank you.